All right, let's do it live on a Thursday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. Merely Bo and the Great Z. You just experienced one of the most nervy things for me, which is you were enjoying your lunch. We were having a wonderful conversation. Happy birthday, S.
S. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to the great S. You were enjoying a nice lunch there as we were having it, and it appeared that what was the first thing that you were eating there? There was a protein, there were some veggies.
Chicken was like a burrito bowl, kind of.
Okay. It appeared out of the corner of my eye, I didn't look at it closely. It appeared to me that there was some sort of an olive oil or was there not some sort of a?
There's a salsa in there.
A salsa maybe. Okay,
Sure.
So it wasn't quite as nervy. And it felt like you thought at one point that there was a miss. There wasn't.
I did. And I gave a
you
quick
navigated
look
it.
Yeah.
There's nothing more panicky than me, as you know I like the olive oil, than a potential drip. That's a DEFCON 1 situation. That's a oxy spray because you're done.
doubt.
You're cooked at that point.
I won't even cook in anything that I like anymore because when you get that oil nice and hot and you get something in there, you're going to get some splatter.
No chance.
I'd much rather burn my arms
Same.
than ruin a nice quarter zip.
You're flying too close to the sun, man.
Icarus, brother. Back on up.
Nailed it. All right. We've got a lot of things to get to, but what I wanted to run by you. Yesterday we set the over-under on tonight at $10.5 million. Are we still comfortable with that?
Yes. I don't feel like the mass push is being made enough to educate the people. I think we're going to get over $10.5 million due to the stewardship of wonderful children and grandchildren who are going to be fielding calls and texts tonight of, how do I watch this game?
I could not agree with you.
Apparently
more.
that was my old person voice. How do I watch this game?
A southern woman?
I don't know.
Or a southern,
I'm not
really
sure.
Old man? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
I think that there is going to be a panic at 7:58, or probably more like 8:10. Of, hey, where's the game? Oh, it's on. It's only on the app. Wait, it's what? What? Huh?
The huh?
Where is it?
Yeah.
No smart TV? Sorry.
Could be rough.
Yeah, I
think we're going to
agree with
get
you.
there, though. I
think the
we'll
masses. I think that that when this is on, we saw this with the Monday Night Football ratings when they had, 13 million was watched on ABC. They don't get to 20 if that's only on ESPN. They don't get there. It's probably 16, something like that. Because it had ABC, it gets all the way to 20 across all the platforms. So the other thing I found out is apparently, like, let's say you're not watching right away when you clue into it. Like, let's say, like, for example, like I'll be putting the two littles to bed around the time of kick. They go to bed around 8:30. So I guess when I open the app, this happened in the preseason game. I was talking to somebody this morning who was paying attention to the preseason, that when you open the app, you can either start from the beginning or go to live. So it's auto DVR.
Wow.
Upon entry.
That's fun.
Which is cool, I think.
Yeah, I think that's real nice.
So that will be interesting. Have you contemplated the idea, and I don't know if they're going to do this or not, they could do whatever they want with the commercials. If they wanted to run a 2-minute Lord of the Rings, right?
I've been in 3 meetings this week. I am dreading the clock next week because it's different, unlike anything in 10 years that we have ever done.
All right.
So we are literally rebuilding clocks and sending them to affiliates and going, hey, 1 week only, this is going to be a little bit of a show. And you can put the word in front of the show.
I think that I didn't think about it until this morning.
He can build clocks. And rebuild them.
He's a Breguet.
Sir Winston Churchill. Napoleon Bonaparte. S.
Here's but I didn't think about this until this morning. If they wanted to, they don't have to go. They're not commercially driven.
Correct.
They can do whatever they want.
So it's going to be,
I don't know what it's going to
buy
be.
Ads
I can tell
into
you.
it?
So their preseason game felt like a pretty traditional NFL broadcast.
Okay.
But you're saying next week when we're on, so you're having to do the homework on this. What are they telling you? What can we expect tonight?
And right now, we have to wait and see how tonight goes. Like my friends in Kansas City and in Los Angeles are not pleased about how this is going to go because they're the guinea pigs for this.
So what do they believe
So
is going to be
normally,
the plan?
quick peek behind. Ultimately, the goal is 4 breaks per quarter. Okay?
Okay.
Now, if you get 2 long drives in a quarter, the 2 breaks go over to the second quarter, and that's why your second quarter seems to drag on forever. Whatever the same thing, third and fourth quarter. They're going 3s all the way across with 3 breaks that are just going to be floaters. They're going to drop in wherever, and then 1 break that they're just getting rid of altogether, and you're just out the inventory.
Well, because they own the inventory, they can do whatever they want.
Correct.
That's
so,
right.
like, if they want to, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think they will. I think that I'm guessing is they probably sold ads for this. They don't need to, but they probably did. They could just run, like, the Lord of the Rings show promos for 3 minutes and say, well, we're back after this.
Good.
Correct.
Hopefully that'll convince my kids to go down that journey with me.
They haven't?
It's an
No,
awful journey.
not yet.
Let me have 5 minutes with them.
First of all, the films
Why
are
did-
great.
they were
They
great.
won
Movies
Oscars.
suck.
You're
Really?
wrong.
You
I
don't.
hate 'em.
You can't think that. How
He
can
does.
you say hate? Wait a second. Did you
He
watch
does.
9 hours and then say, boy, those suck?
I watched the first one. The sun was out, and when I came out, it was dark. And I was like, and I didn't think that was a lot of time for something that I was like,
Well, I mean, it's feasible if in the
It was
in
all
the
right.
winter
It wasn't
months that you
great.
started at 4:30, and
You're done by 7.
yeah,
7:30.
of course it would be dark.
no interest. Done.
Well,
right.
it's
Well, that's a whole nother topic. We'll do that in June.
But yeah,
But the point is,
it is a full-on whatever we feel
we have
like
no
doing.
idea what we're going to see tonight. The other thing is there's no flipping.
no flipping.
You could, but then
That's the
you're
old Larry Sanders line from, you remember that? Larry
yeah.
Sanders show? No flipping? No flipping. You're in, you're in.
Now-
You're in there, and that's
Gary
it.
Shandling.
Yeah.
I mean, you
That's
could.
sneaky good.
So good. It was
People
great.
don't remember that show. It doesn't
They
get
had
quite
that
the
and
love.
Arliss at the same time, which were
Yeah.
both great, and I feel like are both lost. And the guy, his sidekick, right on Larry Sanders was the dad.
Rip Torn.
Was Rip Torn,
Mhm.
and then wasn't also the guy who was the dad in Hangover, the first Hangover? Wasn't he also on that?
Yeah. Yeah,
I
the
like
guy,
that
he
guy.
was in, that guy was
You
originally
never
like in, like,
walk away from a heater.
well,
Love
isn't
that guy?
he's also in, the Will Arnett, Jason Bateman show.
Arrested Development.
Thank you. Good job out of you.
Thank you.
Arrested Development.
Thank you.
And he's great in
Great
that.
show.
Yeah, it is. It is. But yeah, Larry Sanders doesn't. I think what happened with that is they finally got it in HBO Max in the last year or so, but I think it was licensing because they had a lot of songs and stuff, and so they didn't have the licensing for the stream. So that's the way that worked. But I'm fascinated to see how this goes tonight. It's crazy. I didn't even think about it at the time of the draft when they were talking about. Remember, they had Gonzalez out there. Who was out there? Gonzalez, and was it Eckler?
Uh-huh.
Who was at the draft? Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, great. It's on Amazon. But I never thought from the standpoint of, oh, it's only on the app. And these are 2 of the 3 best teams in football. And they're playing week 2 on this app only.
Yeah. Let's go.
Now,
I'm
can you? I think you can watch it on NFL Plus.
I can neither confirm nor
I
deny,
believe
but that's
if you have
another
NFL
app.
Plus.
That's
So maybe
also
you
an-
have like a tablet or something. You got something on the side.
Yeah, you
which
could
would allow you to
two-screen it.
still switch around on the
For sure.
regular.
I assume, you can 2-screen for sure. But in terms of, hey, we're at commercial, let's see what's going on in this.
Yeah.
No, not getting that. Not in your primary TV. So
No.
and it's going to be an awesome game.
Oh,
The scores went.
Up and up and up.
Yep.
Well, listen, we turned in a winning week 1. We're going to turn in a winning
Turn
week
in
2.
another
That's what
week
we
2.
do. That's what we do.
We are back on the practice field here today in about a half hour ahead of the opener against the Jets. Injury updates from yesterday from us. Jack Conklin limited with the knee injury. Your thoughts on that? Same.
He's bringing him along. And I'll tell you, the fact that James Hudson played so well in his debut, he was graded at Pro Football Focus as our best run blocker on the offensive line. He was the second best offensive line grade behind only Wyatt Teller. He allowed just 1 pressure on 36 pass blocking snaps. He played phenomenal football, and that will allow the Browns to bring Jack Conklin along judiciously. And so I thought that was very good to see. And so Jack's right on track. And we'll see. Maybe it's Thursday against the Steelers that he makes his debut. Maybe it's this week. We'll find out as the practice week goes on. But I think they're being judicious with him, and the way that Hudson performed certainly helps you do that.
Do the Jets have people on the defensive end that'll make it difficult on Hudson, or
yeah.
Did we go through that?
Oh, yeah, they got a nice defensive. I'm sure we're going to get into
We
that
went through the middle
more.
of it in the matchups, but that's I was just curious.
Carl Lawson,
So-
our guy.
Yeah.
Jermaine Johnson, who they drafted I think 24th overall. the first-round pick. He was their third first-round pick out of Florida State, who had a half a sack last week. And then John Franklin Myers, who last year had a career. He had 6 sacks, 6 tackles for loss, and 14 quarterback hits for them. Those are kind of the edges. And they brought in a guy, Jacob Martin, as well, who has had at least 3 sacks every season. He had a half a sack. They rotate these guys. All 8 of their D linemen played between 19 and 36 snaps. All 8 of them. They will rotate them, and so, yeah. But, yes, they have guys that can get after you on the edge, and then they got Quinnen Williams, Solomon Thomas, and Sheldon Rankins who can get after you in the middle.
The reason I ask is, so we've got this one, Steelers on a short week, but no TJ.
No.
And then Falcons, nothing too scary there.
I don't know yet.
Nothing too terrifying. And then Chargers?
Terrifying.
So that's terrifying. So
Bosa Mac.
Jack.
Be back.
Be back then. Circle it. That's the one.
Come on.
That's the one that you need. We mentioned the Amari Cooper limited yesterday, but that was just a rest, typical rest day. From their standpoint, obviously the thing you're waiting on for them is Zach Wilson, but they've already ruled him out and said Flacco's starting. So
yes. So here are the ones that you got to pay attention to for them. So George Fant, starting left tackle for them. And they're already without their actual starting left tackles because Mekhi Becton out for the year with a knee injury. Then they signed Dwayne Brown. He goes out with a shoulder injury. So if George Fant were to be out of this one, oh, boy, they would be starting Max Mitchell, their 4th-round pick out of Louisiana, who played right tackle in week 1, gave up a sack and 3 pressures and struggled mightily. And then on the other side, it would be Connor McDermott, who was a 6th-round pick of the Patriots in 17. He's been with New England, Buffalo, and the Jets. 36 games, 6 starts in his career, started 3 times, but has been dreadful. So it could be, really a really rough go of things if Fant is not able to go. This is a guy who's been 30 games, 30 starts with the Jets. He struggled last week, gave up a sack, 4 pressures, but, he is the veteran of that group.
Something to pay attention to.
And then Whitehead is their starting safety, Jordan Whitehead, who they signed from the Bucs. He was a starting safety along with Winfield Jr. Those were the back end there on their Super Bowl team. He did not participate. And then Franklin Myers, who I talked about, the defensive end, John Franklin Myers, he did not participate as well with a toe. So those are 3 to keep an eye on. Whitehead's not as big. He replaced Ashton Davis, who was their starter a year ago, so they have another guy who's at least started. They have defensive line depth, as we talked about, but if George Fant is out, that will be a major story in this game.
Yes, it will be, especially with Joe Flacco at quarterback, who is not particularly mobile. So that's where you stand on that. Again, we're about ready to hit the practice field in about 15 minutes or so, and we'll see where some of our things are. I will say, knock on plexiglass, 2 weeks in, we haven't had to be paying a whole lot of attention to the injury list for us. It's been what is known, and we've done a pretty good job of getting through camp, other than the early injury to Jakeem Grant. That stinks, but other than that, we've been pretty healthy the last couple of weeks leading into the season and now into week 2.
Yeah. Keep it going. Let's keep it going. But yes, we're in a good spot from a physical well-being standpoint headed into this game. And they were smart yesterday. Very light practice yesterday. Because they're keeping an eye on this and then the quick turnaround. Remember, we're sitting here today. Yeah. We're going to play a game on Sunday and then again on Thursday. So we have 2 games between now and 8 days from now.
On this show, I love a Thursday night game. I love leading right into the game on Thursday. Then we get a reaction Friday. A full NFL to react to on Monday. Big fan. Big fan. That'll be fun.
Huge.
I got to tell you, I finally figured out the Madden thing, how the quick start thing.
Yeah.
God, that's awful.
They fixed it.
Did they fix it?
They finally have fixed it, yes.
It was just
you had to restart
mind-numbing
the game every time. Agreed.
That you had to do that, and they finally, you'd go to that quick start, and it's like, no, I don't want to go to the game my kid played 2 days ago in the 3rd quarter. Like, I think it's cool that you have the technology.
To do that.
That's fine,
sure.
But I would really rather just start over on that. So I played my first game of Madden 23 last night. Was very fun.
How did you do? When are you going to dial me up and throw down an online challenge?
I'm
brother?
not ready for you.
You're ready.
No.
Come on.
No. I thought it was largely fine. I played the opener against Carolina for us. Went pretty well. I feel like Miles should be able to get around the edge a little better than he does.
You want it to happen every play, but he'll
even
get
some.
there.
Like I ended up with 3 sacks with Clowney just because Baker was moving away from Miles and Clowney was falling into sacks left and right. So
Yeah.
I think that game needs a big boost, though. I felt like with the next generation, there should have been a bigger jump for the game.
I've found as I've kind of settled into this one that there's so much more I can do throwing the football using that left trigger and the controlled passing and really throw to green as opposed to just being stuck on their route tree and their targets. I found that's been good. And I found that you really you've got to run the football. You've got to be not balanced, but you can't just throw it literally every play.
I like running it with Chubb and Hunt, though.
Oh, yeah, running is great.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Nick had himself a big game last night for us. It was nice. So a lot to get to over the course of the program. It is Coordinator Day here in Berea, so you'll hear from Mike Prefer, Alex Van Pelt, Joe Woods as well. We're off and running on a Thursday edition. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. And the Bath Authority gives you that bathroom of your dreams. In about a day, you can transform your current bath into a spa-like experience. Let the Bath Authority make it a reality for you at a fraction of the cost of the competitors. They're the best in town, guys. Bath Authority, our area's premier bath and shower remodeler. They're experts and factory trained. Give them a call now. You get $500 off your next custom bath or shower remodel. That number is 216-220-8399, or go to thebathauthority.com. It's where affordability meets quality and the largest selection of bath projects. They're all made in the United States. Change your bathroom from outdated to outstanding, again, in about a day. Superior products with expert installers at the Bath Authority, 216-220-8399, or thebathauthority.com. And now here's Special Teams Coordinator Mike Prefer at the podium.
So before we get started,
you guys are down 540.
Last week, in my perspective on last week, with a young team, you have to find ways to win. You have to go in, to that game on a hot Sunday afternoon against a good football team with a lot to play for, and you got to find a way to win, and that's what we did. And I was real proud of the entire team. But on special teams, we did a lot of good things. Some things we got to get a lot better at. We know that. But this week, the perspective that I have to take and the motivation that I have, coaching our guys this week is to, how do we handle winning? And when you have a young team that coming off an emotional win, you got to find ways to, get them back to work, get them motivated, getting ready to roll. And I think we've done that this week. I know our head coach does a phenomenal job with that. We have a bunch of good coaches that do that. We have a bunch of good veteran leaders, even though we are young. Our veteran leaders have done a nice job at the beginning part of this week and on with the meetings this morning and walkthrough and everything, and try to figure out how do we handle winning? How do we get prepared for this next opponent? Because New York's going to come in here, with guns a-blazing, and they're going to be ready to roll, and they're going to play hard. And, their head coach is a tough guy, and he coaches them tough. They have an outstanding, Brant Boyer's an outstanding special teams coordinator. He's going to get them ready to play. He played hard when he was a player, coached against them. You guys remember him here. He was a good football player. He's a good football coach. So, they've got a lot of talent on their special teams, from their kicker, their returner. Barrios is, one of the top returners in our game, both punt and kickoff return. Greg Zerline's been doing this for a long time as their place kicker. Braden Mann's a good young punter. I think he's fighting a little bit of a back issue. He struggled a little bit on Sunday, but he's very talented. And they've got core players all over the place that are really good players for us that are going to pose a challenge for us on Sunday.
The obvious, what was your view on the game-winning kick there, and how confident were you that when you put Cade in that situation that he was going to make that 58?
Honestly, I was hoping we'd get to the 40. I know Coach has said that, Cade has said that, and that's honestly where we thought we needed to get to. Get to the 40-yard line, make it a 58-yarder, give them the best chance, and our offense did a phenomenal job getting there. We did. I thought Coach did a great job of using the timeouts there at the end. The game management was really good. I thought they would, kick it a little bit shorter to us to, give us some, try to waste some time off the clock. They didn't do that. So, our young kickoff returner did a nice job in that situation, letting the ball go in the end zone, and gave us ball to 25 with, minute 10, minute 15 to go, and brought it down to 13 seconds, and we made it. So, in that situation, we were concerned about whether or not that flag was going to stand with the intentional grounding. So we were going to have to, with the 10-second runoff, we're going to have to do what we call an umpire alert, which means with 3 seconds left, we got to get everybody ready, and they're going to wind the clock. We got to snap the ball immediately. So we were ready for that situation as well. And then it turned out there was 13 seconds left. So I think so. I think it's a 10-yard penalty.
8 yards. Then.
It would have been a 68-yarder, which
you would.
Well, I think you'd have to. Yeah. I mean, that type of day with with very little wind, and I think the wind was blowing maybe a little bit in that direction. I don't remember, but it was a nice day, and he made it. I don't know how long it would have made it from, but he crushed that thing.
Had confidence that he could have made it from 68 if he had to.
From what I've seen, and I know you guys have seen a little bit of it too, but what I've seen in practice and since we've drafted him, I've got a lot of confidence in his leg. 68 is quite a stretch, but he's got a tremendous leg, and he's got a lot of confidence in that leg.
Return, what are your plans this week? And you picked up a special teamer a practice squatter who has experience.
Chester,
moved in there?
We're working with him. There's some things I think, even though he's a 6-year veteran, some things I need him to work on. We talked about that yesterday. We'll continue to talk about the rest of the week. Being on practice squad, you would have to make a roster move to, get him up on the 53 and get him on the 48 for the game day roster. I'm not sure if we're there yet, but it's nice to have him there as an insurance policy. Dimitri did some good things. He just got to get out of his own head sometimes. He just, he doesn't hit the seam, hit the return like we need him to, and I think he will. He has before. First game out there, we didn't block for him particularly well in a couple of those returns. We got after him. I mean, we almost blocked one punt. We should have blocked another punt. Miles almost blocked the field goal at the end of the game. I don't know if you guys saw that. He got through there on a swim, and he missed it, went right by his left hand. So we had, woulda, shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? But we'll keep working with Dimitri. I have a lot of confidence in him. I think he's an outstanding athlete that's still learning as a punt returner. That was his first game. He's just, he just can't put the ball on the ground. Other than that, he's fine. He just can't put the ball on the ground, and that's got to be eliminated, and he knows that.
About Jerome Ford that you went with him is the kick returner?
I like his, first of all, he hasn't done it since high school, so it's been a crash course for him all summer. And he's worked extremely hard. We spent a lot of hours together getting him prepared, and we made the decision the night before the game, let's go. And Coach did. And I think it was a good one. He's got that running back vision. He's got that toughness. He's going to run hard. He's going to make people miss. He's not afraid, like you saw him when he bounced it outside the other day. He tried to run through 2 guys and got 3 extra yards, got out to the 26, 27-yard line. So I think he's got enough speed to break a big one.
Back in 20.
Got toughness and courage, and he's got really good vision, so he should help us there.
What do you think about the new midfield logo?
Ball security. It's bad. He's not covering up the tip of the ball. It's the first thing I think of. His hand is back here. The tip of the ball is exposed. I can't believe they're going to put that on the 50-yard line. No. Well, he will not be our returner, no.
That's great.
Gotta have ball security.
Brownie, tuck it away, dude.
High and tight, brother.
You got to tuck. I can't. I'm trying to even.
High and tight.
Do we have any of them in here? Do we have any of them up?
What's that?
Do we have a brownie, a stiffy brownie? Do
We
have any
don't.
Of them, a picture of
Podes.
one?
Come on. Bad signal.
Yeah, see, look. There it is. That's the base.
Oh, my gosh. He's carrying it like a loaf of bread.
Not secure.
That's a fine.
Not secure.
Oh, no. Stiffy the elf. Not good, buddy.
Be better.
Be better.
Be better, Brownie.
Yeah. You got to get that. Got to get that sorted out. Get the tip covered.
By the way, I got it sorted out with Eisen. He's on board now.
Yeah, you did.
Got people. Got to.
Yeah.
It's funny though. Our fans, I do find they get very like. We all know what Brownie is, but I think it is reasonable to assume that people outside of Cleveland might not know about Brownie the Elf.
And it's okay.
It's okay.
That
It's
they
okay.
wouldn't know.
They don't know.
A logo that hasn't been around since the 60s.
Yeah, that's right.
And has only been trotted out.
Really from Stefanski.
Yeah, I mean, little trickles here and there from before that, but really Stefanski wearing it on the hoodie. But honestly, folks, how many times do you think people in other markets are paying attention to the hoodie that the head coach in another market is wearing?
Not
None.
Often.
Zero.
Like
we would know, sure, but like
the
the notion that you're taking worried about.
Yeah, the Colts have a logo where they've got an actual horse like doing some things.
They do. Yeah, there's
but
one.
You
that's
never
got,
see it.
Yeah, and Denver has one too. They've
Sure.
got like a bucking horse
yeah,
thing
right,
that,
exactly.
from way back. But like you don't see
You don't
that
see
stuff
it all the
very
time.
often.
Sure.
It's just like when you and I were all excited about that lion thing
Oh,
with the guy
God.
on the lions and all that.
Isn't he great?
It looked so great. Like
He's amazing.
it really is. But I'd never seen it.
I'm trying to get us to recreate that one for all the dog lovers out there, where it's like Brownie or a Browns football player on a ferocious dog in that kind of same looking type logo.
What about if if it's like what you and I thought it was, which is like a gladiator thing, almost like
like on a
dogs
chariot,
pulling on a chariot,
sure.
Brownie pulling.
Sure, yeah, that's
a
like.
win. That feels like a win, dog.
It is a win. Doesn't even feel like it.
Yeah, it does. There was one other thing on that Lions thing. I can't remember what I was going to. Something else there. Oh well, it'll come to me at some point. Rumpke and Recycling.
Seen
Waste
it, man.
Recycling.
We're gonna get there, man.
Jeez, they're favored by 1.5. It just feels like a lock that they lose by a field goal to Washington. Rumpke Waste Recycling, family owned and operated. Whether you join them as a customer or as an employee, you'll become part of the family. Visit rumpke.com to learn more. Go
You
ahead.
believe Carson Wentz is capable of like 2 decent
No.
performances in a row?
I don't, but I also think everything that can go wrong does go wrong to them.
Yeah.
I mean, they've had heartbreaking
True.
losses.
Man, the
it's
4
tough.
o'clock slate on Sunday is not great.
Dude, it's a bad slate of football. The best game is tonight. I mean, because the Sunday nighter is Cincinnati-Dallas without Dak.
No, it's Sunday after.
Oh, that's 4:25.
That's 4:25.
Sunday night is Rodgers against the Bears.
The Bears. Yeah.
Oh my God!
And then you have
That's
2
gonna be
good
bloodletting.
I think you have 2 good games on Monday. Remember, Titans Bills last year was an epic game.
But I think Bill's going. I'm sorry, Titans are going.
Oh, so do we, off the cliff.
So-
And the Vikings Eagles game I'm into. I'm into that game.
The Vikings Eagles game will be fun, but this is it's a largely poo-poo platter weekend.
I mean,
This-
here's
the
4
best
o'clock.
ones tonight. Look at the 1 o'clock window, dude. It's
Here's-
bad at 1 o'clock too.
Listen to the spreads. 4 o'clock. Niners minus 8.5, Rams minus 10, Broncos minus 10, Raiders minus 5.5, Cowboys plus 7 to the Bengals, and then Packers minus 10, and then the first Monday night game is Bills minus 10. I mean, there are just monster numbers. 1 o'clock, you've got, I think Dolphins Ravens is a good game. I think Bucks Saints is a good game.
Those are the two most. I am so
That's
fatigued
it.
though on Brady that I just have seen it.
He struggles
too
with
much,
those Saints,
and
though.
he does struggle with them. They are favored.
Have
in
you
New
seen-
Orleans, by the way?
Have you seen the total for our game?
Yeah, I'm seeing it right now.
Lowest in the NFL this week, 39.5.
Yeah, but did you see the line?
6.5.
That's a big on a 39.5 total.
Let me do the math real quickly. It's basically 23-16
Mm-hmm.
is what they've got dialed up for
Yeah.
us. Right?
Yeah.
23 and a 20.
Boy, the Lions. The
16
Lions
and a
total
half.
is 48.5.
Yeah.
Is that the highest
That's
of the
a
day?
big one.
No.
51.5
Cards and
Cards
Raiders.
Raiders, and then
I
50
don't
and a
know.
half Vikes Eagles.
I feel like that there's a lot wrong in Arizona.
I do too.
A lot.
It just always feels like a disaster.
It's kind of fun to watch. Let it burn.
Why do you not like the people there?
I don't.
Who do you
I
have a problem with in Arizona?
I don't have any problem with the people.
Well,
in
you just said
Arizona.
let it burn. Like, do you have a personal
franchise.
animus towards the
Like
Cardinals?
I'm not impressed by Kyler. You know my feelings on Cliff. Hot seat. Severe.
Probably.
Severe hot seat. Your boy in San Fran better win this week, or I'm contemplating putting him back on.
He's gonna win.
They're going to win.
Yeah, they're gonna be just fine. I think. In this
Sure
one.
about that?
Yeah.
Yep.
All
I
right.
feel very confident about that one. I think they're gonna be. I think they'll be just fine in that game.
Yeah, Gibby.
Yeah. It's not a great slate though, and it's crazy because the best one's tonight. That's by far not only the best one of this week, but one of the 4 games that you'd have to see this year. These 2 games, home and away, Bills and Chiefs. In terms of where your team's not involved, those are the 3 that you got to see.
Gots to.
The Chargers don't play the Bills, do they?
This year?
This year, I don't think so.
I don't know.
I don't think they're on the schedule.
I'm not doing LCD right now.
Yeah.
It'd be a fun show.
Would be a very fun show.
By the way, in the vein of, if you're not getting better, you're getting worse.
Sure.
I've added a new wrinkle this week. So as you
Look
sit
at
over
that
here.
board. That's so much.
It's a lot.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Yeah?
It's not much at all. It's way less than last week.
Is it really?
But
maybe
I've
I
gone,
didn't look as close.
So I've gotten to a new thing. So like red pen is like last week's stats.
Okay. I like that.
Black pen would just be information or like career stats.
Yep.
And then blue is like if there's something I find very interesting that I want my eyes to immediately be drawn, because I feel like the blue really pops.
It does pop.
And the blue's also going to give you the snap counts as well, just by their numbers.
So what's the green? Is that you? Did you do that too?
No, that's a rookie.
Already there.
That's a rookie.
Oh, rookies are green. And
Blue
then what's
highlight-
highlighter yellow?
Highlighter yellow is a Pro Bowler.
Okay.
Highlighter blue is a free agent, a new player for the team.
Okay.
So
blue pen was note.
Blue pen's like an important
note
like
for
rotate
you.
the
Yeah,
defense,
yeah, yeah.
the base defense. 60.
Yep.
Lamarcus Joyner roasted 55-yard touchdown. Like just a little
pops.
Interception, sacks, turnovers, things like that. I'll get a blue for
It's
a pop.
funny. I would have done similar. I've never done one of those before. I've done play-by-play for a game, but I've
And
never.
then
But it was a nonsense college game, but
Big
big
sure.
notes. Yeah.
Big.
But I would do similar as you. I was a big. I like a felt tip, and I like multiple colored felt tip. Yeah, that's it. I like that. And then things code to different things. That's how you do it. I like that. I like what you did there. All right, coming up next, Alex Van Pelt from the podium. Matchup day for us, our offense versus the Jets defense. We'll get into that as well. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Elk and Elk, serious lawyers, serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO for a free case review. Elk and Elk is a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. And now let's go to the podium. Our offensive coordinator, Alex Van Pelt.
How big? You guys are down 5 minutes.
Out of his catches. Huge. And just in general, his willingness to go over the middle. It's not
he's a big guy, excellent hands, really does a great job of making contested catches, really strong to the ball. Those are some of the biggest plays of the game, and I think he won a game ball because of those plays he made in critical situations. Well deserved.
Late in the game to have that yardage, to know, hey, you want to get as close as you can, but just to know what that yardage is, how different is that?
We'd like to make it a lot easier, on him moving forward, but we always talk about the 30-yard line just to be safe offensively. But really impressed by the young kicker coming out and going 4 for 4 and banging the big one at the end. Don't want to put him in those positions often, but glad to know that he can make those.
Opportunities early in the game that were there. Just when you go back and you look at it, and you go through this week preparing for a new game, just how do you, clean some of that stuff up, and whether it's getting Jacoby on the same page with the receivers or whatever, just how do you fix those?
Yeah, it's just repetition, practice, comfortability with each other. Obviously, first game's a big game. The jitters are there for everybody, regardless if you're a rookie or a 10-year pro. You still have that your juices are flowing. We missed a couple, go balls outside, overthrowing them, and that's just the body has a lot of adrenaline and juice going. So, as we settle in and get more comfortable, I think we'll hit those throws.
Disappointing as missing those plays was. Is it a good sign that you had those chances, that those two down the sideline, and I think there was one over the middle where Donovan got open on a double move, that those chances were there?
It's positive for sure. We've created some separation in those situations, and we'll connect with those moving forward, hopefully.
A missed connection with Jacoby down the sideline, that the corner went where he didn't expect him to go. So was that just a weird thing, or how can you fix that? Like just expecting more?
Yeah, we'll make those plays. It was the corner actually fell down on the play. I don't know if Jacoby saw him fall down. He would have driven that ball a little flatter and more sudden to Amari, quicker to him. But those are plays we'll just grow through those and expect to make a moving forward.
He's the wide receiver 1 here, and he's probably going to be drawing a lot more extra coverage than he perhaps did the last few years. How do you guys kind of adjust to that, and how important is it to get Amari, productive?
Sure. Obviously, we want to get him the ball. Like you said, he's our number 1 guy. Didn't get him as many balls as we'd like, but he created 3 penalties by his play style in that game that were big plays, got us down to the 1-yard line on a great double move. So he's contributing. It may not be in the production of catches, but he played a big role in us winning that game on Sunday.
Game, but I think David got 2 targets, 1 got called back by penalty. Is it a point of emphasis to try to get him involved, and did the Panthers do something to really take him out of it?
I wouldn't say they did anything to take him out. They didn't double team him or anything like that. But David's production was huge in the game, not just on the catches, but his ability to run block and what he does with his physicality is special. And he's a big, big part of our success in the run game as well. We'll get him more involved. We had him on a down the field throw using his speed. Linebacker added on late, and it was our only sack of the game, but he's running wide open. That would have been a huge play to Dave if we'd have got that pressure picked up.
The rookie corner, Gardner, for the
skilled. Obviously he's long, has a lot of length, very athletic, very good in press, man-to-man coverage. He's a guy that you gotta respect out there. If you put somebody out on him, and he's impressed man. He does a really good job in that area of his game. So I'm not going to shy away from anybody out there, but you just got to understand his skill set.
For the Jets' run defense against Baltimore were really good. What do you see from?
Yes, very, very good front, very solid front, very deep front. They rotate through. They'll have 8 guys playing in those 4 spots, multiple reps throughout the course of the game. So they keep them fresh. They're big. They're strong. They're a powerful group. It'd be a great challenge for us. I talked about our offense earlier in the week. This is going to be a real good challenge for us up front because they match up well and they have a good rotation. So we're going to have to play our best game against that front.
Numbers weren't great a year ago. Did they make a lot of personnel adjustments there?
I think you're seeing some more guys come in, some different people come in. I think he's kind of getting his type of guy he wants in there to play up in the front. I know in that system, the front's a big part of what happens on that defense, and they're starting to stack a lot of good players up there right now.
30.
In the first week, and what kind of challenges will he have against that Jets defense?
No, that defense is a good, like I said, that front is a good front up front. So he'll have a challenge this week. There's really not a game that goes by in the league where you're not challenged on that left tackle spot. Jed's just got to keep playing consistent and want to dominate. When he wants to dominate, I think there's not many better tackles in the league than he is. He has it in his body. He's just got to keep grinding it out, and if he wants to be the best, I think there's a chance he
come back. You're up.
All right, there you go. Our offensive coordinator, Alex Van Pelt, at the podium. And now time for a little matchup. Our offense versus the Jets defense. Dr. Z.
All right, let's go top level right now. The Jets, after 1 week, are 8th in total defense. They are 3rd in rushing defense, 14th against the pass, middle of the pack everywhere else, and then they limited big plays very effectively, 3rd in big plays allowed. The Browns offense comes into this, the number 2 rushing offense in the NFL, one of the best pass-protecting offenses in the league. They did not have a turnover, obviously. Where do they need to get better? Passing 31st, red zone 28th. So that's an area where the Browns definitely need to improve in this one. So week number 1, again, it's hard to know. And this is an interesting thing, right? When you watch, we got 1 week's worth of tape, and this is a team, they've got 3 new starters in the secondary, Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed, the corners. They signed DJ Reed to a big deal, 3 years, $33 million. He was with Robert Saleh and Joe Woods at the Niners in 2019, comes via Seattle last year, where he had an excellent season, 10 pass breakups, 2 picks. And then Jordan Whitehead, who was the safety for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So 3 new safeties. They've got a couple new faces up front. I mentioned Jacob Martin coming over in free agency, Jermaine Johnson, a first-round pick. But here's the thing. It's hard to see tendencies and trends from week 1 against Baltimore because they operate an offense unlike any other.
Yeah.
They played 66% of the time they played base against the Ravens. That is the second most in the NFL. They did not do that last year. They played a significantly higher percentage of nickel a year ago.
The other thing that's crazy, too, is Baltimore didn't run it.
At all.
And they were still in base.
Part of the reason is that 12 of their 21 rushes, and then you can throw out a couple of those were Lamar Jackson scrambles. So probably more like 12 of 18 of their runs were against 8 or more in the box in week 1. So they loaded up the box and said, you're going to throw it. We need to be prepared for
Probably
that.
likely what we'll see.
We need to be prepared for that. Some other things just schematically to think about here. In week number 1, the Jets, they blitzed 17% of the time in week number 1. Last year, they blitzed at a significantly higher rate, 28% of the time. So maybe that had something to do with Lamar Jackson. In week 1, they played cover 3 in quarters 75% of the time, which was second most in the NFL. Last year, they played those two defenses 51% of the time. Week 1, they only played 14% cover 1, which is man with 1 free safety. They did that 26% of the time last year, and should be noted, Carolina did that to us 36% cover 1, which was second most in the NFL, so we should expect to see that as well. I think they will play more nickel. Their nickel cornerback is named Michael Carter. So is their running back. They drafted 2 Michael Carters last year, one in the 4th round out of North Carolina and one in the 5th round, believe it or not, out of Duke, which I think is a hilarious. It's just funny. They have 2 Michael Carters. Good linebackers. C.J. Mosley last year had 168 tackles, 4th in the NFL. Quincy Williams was 2nd on the team with 110. And then they added Quan Alexander, who now going into his 8th season is not the player he once was when he was a Pro Bowler in 2017, but played with Saleh in San Francisco and was flying around in that game. He had 3 tackles, but was really flying around in that game against the Baltimore Ravens. So that's kind of the linebacker, the back 7 up front we talked about. They have an 8-person rotation. You've got Carl Lawson, Jermaine Johnson, John Franklin Myers, and Jacob Martin are the pass rushers. Interior, Solomon Thomas, former first-round pick of the Niners in 17. It's kind of a bust. I was looking at his numbers. So he's bounced around a little bit in the league. 9.5 career sacks for a number 3 overall pick. He's only started 30 of his 66 games. He's on his 3rd team. Quinnen Williams is a beast, another 3rd overall pick out of Alabama. 13 sacks the last 2 years. They've got Sheldon Rankins, first-round pick in New Orleans back in 2016. So 3 of their 4 interior guys are first-round picks. Rankins had 8 sacks a few years ago with New Orleans. Last year with the Jets, 3 sacks and 5 tackles for loss. And then they have Nathan Shepard, their 3rd-round pick from 2018, 4.5 career sacks. Didn't have any stats in week 1. But so they'll rotate all 8 of those guys. We saw more base in week 1. We'll see more nickel this week. Both safeties struggled in coverage. Sauce Gardner, the 4th overall pick, was only targeted once, gave up 1 catch for 8 yards in coverage. And this is from the TV broadcast, so you may know this to be true or not. but supposedly he never allowed a touchdown at any level in his life.
Jeez.
That's what I mean. They said it like it was a fact.
I mean, they would. Yeah, I did not know that. That's
Andrew Catalan and James Lofton were on the call.
Rather stunning, if true.
It feels wild.
Yeah,
but that's what it is. So their corners, like I said, Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed, the starters. Their backups, Bryce Hall, a 4th-round pick in 20, started last year, had 16 passes defense, 6th most in the NFL, lost his starting job. And on the other side, it was Brandon Eccles, a 6th-round pick last year, who had 2 picks and 9 passes defense and actually played pretty well. So they have depth in that room. As I said, 3 new starters there. They have guys who can get after it. Lawson in week 1, 3 pressures to lead the team. Quentin Williams had 3 pressures. John Franklin Myers had 3 pressures. Martin had 3 pressures. Jermaine Johnson had 2.5 of a sack. So they have dudes that are just going to come in and be fresh and get after the quarterback. So that's what they are. Now, I mentioned at the top they are currently the 3rd-ranked rushing defense. Well, last year they were the 29th ranked run defense in the NFL. They gave up 138.3 at 4.5 yards a carry, 28 rushing touchdowns, one of the top figures in the league. So this defense in week 1, and I watched. The Ravens just didn't look sharp. Lamar didn't look sharp. They had no threat of the ground game. Their line was a little bit in shambles. So I think we will be much better. But 1 week, it's hard to judge on 1 week. Let's see this. So we get a quarter of season. That's when you really have a better idea of where teams are settling into. But a talented D that flies to the ball.
Give me one thing that we didn't do well in week 1 that we have to do well Sunday, offensively.
Oh, it's easy. Play action passing. Play action passing is where this offense makes its money in terms of chunk plays and the like. Jacoby Brissett in week 1 was 1 of 5 for 1 yard. It was a touchdown on the goal line on play action. It's got to be better. There were shots to take to Donovan Peoples-Jones. We heard the reference of if they'd blocked up from AVP, the one to David Njoku. And speaking of, I think that's part of what they need to do better. Get David Njoku the ball. One target, not enough.
If you would have, when we put the thing together, 2 of the 3 guys, it was Donovan versus Anderson and Moore. It was Coop, and it was Njoku, and it was DPJ, and Coop and Njoku were very obviously quiet. So,
by the way, we would have been fine on that had we not busted a coverage.
Yeah, still would have been okay.
Would have won handily.
Would have.
And I'd be tied with Gibbet.
Instead, Chesty Gibbet.
All I know is winning.
Dancing Gibbet.
Well, what you know is blowing leads.
It's a long season.
That's what you know so far. Last year you had a huge lead, and then I just slowly reeled you back only to break your heart at the end.
I encourage people not to do what I was doing last year. I will do that again, all while I win. And if it goes well, great. If not, I'll just throw you under the bus and blame you.
Hold on. Can I just break down the sentence that you just stated? I will do that. I encourage people to not do what I did last year, ... but I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to win. Huh?
And if it goes well, great. If it goes poorly, I'll just blame you. That's how it goes.
I think you'd have to blame yourself. You just said, don't do this.
Don't do this.
And then
I'm going to do it.
But I'm going to do it again.
But I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
Okay.
All right. Joe Woods coming up at the top of the hour. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. OBM, the official partner of your Cleveland Browns, where your printer needs are concerned. When you depend on your Browns to win, you can also depend on OBM because they can also tackle any size office. Call 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. Now here's our defensive coordinator, Joe Woods, at the podium.
You guys are down 5 minutes.
That's why I made the call I made. We just have to play better. We have to communicate better, but we can't let those plays happen like that ever.
First one, Joe, with the tight end just releases down the left side.
Yeah.
I know Denzel was running on late, right?
Yeah.
Is that the reason that there was such a breakdown?
I take responsibility for that. That was my fault. They went for it, or it was 3rd down and 2. They were 12 personnel, so I put a certain package on the field, and then they changed the personnel group, but kind of got on the ball. So instead of just staying with the group that I had in there, I tried to change to a different personnel package, and I didn't really cleanly communicate that, or I didn't feel like I got the call across. So I told the guys, I said, that's my fault. So that plays on me.
Difficult. You guys played so well for so long, but I guess, did it drive home the point to your players that if you give up 2 bad plays, it can change the course of the game because you guys played well the rest of it?
Yeah, that's life in the NFL. I mean, it's 2 or 3 plays, and it always seems like the games go down to the last series. So you have to play really well, error-free, just to give yourself a chance. And I was happy the way we started. I thought everything we game planned went really well. But after that play with a bad substitution on my part, and then into the second half, there was just 2 or 3 plays we didn't execute well on, and then we got in that type of game.
Anything to Tatum Bryant after a tough roughing the passer call? We saw him across the league again.
I just said, hey, keep playing hard. They make the call, and obviously the weight came down on the quarterback, so we tried to correct that. But that's the nature of the game. Things like that are going to happen. But I just told him, hey, keep playing hard.
There's a couple of sacks away from breaking the franchise record, and he's done it in a really few amount of games. Just how impressive is that production that he's had to begin his career?
In my time, it's really impressive because he's a talented player. You see it, and I said it last week. I mean, he looks like a tailback playing DN. It's freaky looking sometimes. Just the speed, his ability to bend off the edge. So we know teams are going to put a lot of protection towards him. So there's certain things we're trying to do in terms of defensive scheme, the ability for him to move around, to try to create some matchups to get him away from that. And we'll get better at that over time. But just everything he's been able to do, I think it's just speaks to who he is as a player and his mindset.
Johnson is getting some of the heat for not providing Greg with the help on the 75-yarder, but is that necessarily the case that was John's thing?
No, it's just the way we play in that coverage, just miscommunication. We cleaned it up, but it was nobody's fault in particular. It's just we gotta work together better in the back end on that particular play.
Your
Back in 30.
Share DNA because you spent time with in San Francisco. Like, how similar do you view that? How much did you take from the growth?
There's parts of our defense that are very similar, And I know there's different things they do because I talked to them. I talked to them about a week ago, but there's different things that they do, and there's different things that we do because I pull from different systems where I've been. But there is some carryover, which I know will help our offense just in terms of practice. And it's going to help us.
You're up.
Because we know what they like to do at times.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it's time for the matchup. The Browns defense versus the Jets offense, brought to you by Evolve Technology. Evolve Technology powers best-in-class security for your Cleveland Browns. And for the breakdown, here's Dr. Z.
All right, the Browns come into this one number 5 in total defense, just like they were a year ago. Number 2 against the run, number 13 against the pass, 14th on third downs. They have the 5th most sacks in the league. They limited big plays. Their 4th best big play defense. Unfortunately, the 3 big plays they gave up were big, huge plays. So they've got to do better in that regard. They are 15th in yards per play. The Jets offense, 14th overall, 29th in scoring, 21st running, 6th passing, dead last on third downs, 21st in sacks. They gave up 3 of them last week. However, watching the game, they gave up another 2 that were wiped out by ridiculous penalties down the line.
Wait a second.
Oh, my goodness.
What does that say?
That's the one.
That's the one?
Yeah.
I noticed that it's folded and headed.
I think that's going to Eisen.
It's amazing. It's amazing the people, like the water. You remember was it Fantasia with all the brooms and all the water?
All the buckets? Yeah,
That's us, brother. It's been us for months.
Yeah.
Lots of water.
That's all right.
Keep carrying it. Continue.
Go on.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Hey, I was going to ask you, how did the Cleveland Browns defensive backs was that B. Lynch who did those?
Jeff Howard.
Jeff Howard. Howard did those. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
nowhere.
Yeah, that's nowhere.
Yeah.
You have one of those.
Indeed.
Yeah.
But that's it.
What if we did one of those that said Cleveland Browns daily?
I'm in.
Yeah. Well, we can just.
I got a guy that we can make a phone call now.
He's got a guy. Think about the beautiful orange one.
Well, I would want it in a white.
Yeah. We'd be the only one.
See,
we'd be the only one.
We'd be the only ones that have it. We would want it in a white.
Can you talk to your boys?
I'm going to end up slopping stuff down the front.
Can you talk to your boys at Homage?
Homage? Perhaps. Yeah. Perhaps.
I'd like that. I'd like the same softness in that orange in a white.
In a white with that.
Cleveland Browns Daily.
Yeah. Stiffy Brownie. Cleveland Browns Daily.
Yeah. That's right.
Okay. Okay.
You've got that.
All right.
All right, so real quickly here, looking at this team, some things that jumped out. They were in the gun 73% of the time, week 1, 10th most in the NFL. Checking that out, that matches 69% of the time the shotgun last year, also 10th most in the NFL. They ran 10 plays in week 1 out of 13 personnel, 3 tight ends. That led the NFL. 10 plays. Why is that important? Well, first of all, they averaged 6.6 yards a play out of it, so that's effective. Here's wild. They only had 9 What about the pants? What about the Lulus? The Lulus. How about, I'll focus on pants. Give me back the pants.
He's now what? 3 and 4 now.
He's trying to say that I'm a waist 40.
Oh, jeez.
Insulting.
That is.
So they ran 10 plays out of 13 personnel week 1. Is that something they were showing us to make us think about it? Maybe, because guess what? They ran 9 plays of 13 personnel in all of 2021. They did more in week 1. They did all of last year. However, they signed C.J. Uzomah, and they signed Tyler Conklin in the offseason, free agents there at the tight end position. By the way, Uzomah didn't see a single target in week number 1. Not one target after coming off of a career year with Cincinnati. Tyler Conklin, though, saw 7 targets, 4 catches, 14 yards, and he had the touchdown for the Jets in that one. So this is a very skilled team. Skill position players, I think, are excellent for this football team. Receivers, Elijah Moore, second rounder 2021. Garrett Wilson, first rounder this year. Corey Davis, first rounder 2017. Davis led them week 1, 6 catches, 77 yards. Elijah Moore's got a reception of 20 or more yards in 7 straight games, which is the second longest such streak in the entire NFL. And I thought Wilson looked impressive in his debut, although he really didn't get in until like halftime.
Yeah, this was a game that Red Zone almost never went to. It wasn't on here locally, so I didn't see much of this one. So I can't give you much of a read on it. Basically, the view from Red Zone on this was Lamar hitting some big shots over the top.
That's what it was.
That's kind of what all we saw.
That's what it was. And then for their offense, they have 2 running backs. Michael Carter, who had he played 50 snaps. He had 100 total yards on 17 touches. And then Breece Hall, their second-round pick. And this is something I picked up as well from listening to the game, which is just stunning. Breece Hall had scored a touchdown in 24 straight games before his NFL debut and saw that streak snapped. Obviously, those were all in college.
He was at Iowa State.
Yeah.
They relied on it heavily. Carter's out of Carolina, I believe.
Yep.
Those 2 backs were both really good backs in college. Breece Hall was a guy who, at the start of last year, was Iowa State started in the top 10 in the country and then underperformed, and he was kind of a guy that maybe some people thought maybe could have a little Heisman buzz if they had the year that people thought they would have a year ago. They did not, and so he did not, but he's a known commodity.
Yeah, 2 good players there. They got the 2 tight ends I mentioned. They also will play Lawrence Cager a little bit, who spent some time with the Browns in 21. He's got 2 catches, 35 yards for his career. Their line up front, George Fant. Again, we'll keep an eye on his practice. He's the one, 754 career starts. He's the left tackle. They brought in Laken Tomlinson on a massive 3-year, $40 million deal. He was a Pro Bowler in 2021 with San Francisco. He started 81 straight games, which is second most among guards in the league. Had a horrible debut. Awful. 8 pressures, gave up the most in the NFL. Michael Pierce, Justin Matabuke were just going wild on him. Their center is Connor McGovern. He was the number 9 center at Pro Football Focus in 21. Right guard, Elijah Vera Tucker. That's when I wish they
remembered him.
Yeah, he was very good at a USC first-round pick.
Yeah, we talked about him, I remember, in one of those drafts when we were looking at offensive linemen. I remember that.
Yeah, he's an elite run blocker. He was the number 1 run blocking grade in Pro Football Focus Week 1 in the NFL. Big, strong guy. And guards, very similar. Laken Tomlinson and Elijah Vera Tucker. That's the strength of their line, much like our guards are the strength. And they've got a rookie, Max Mitchell, starting at right tackle. It all comes down to Joe Flacco, though. 0-6 as a starter with the Jets. He has not won a game. 59% completions, 10 touchdowns, 4 picks with them. Last week, he was sacked 3 times, hit 11, which was second most in the NFL. He threw it 59 times and had 37 completions, both most in the league. He's a statue, and I watched him. By the way, he said he should have checked it down more. 19 checkdowns to running backs in week 1, most in the league. As I mentioned, the Ravens had 2 sacks erased early. There's an opportunity. Look, it's not for us, though. Should be for us. Bring it in here.
That's going straight to shipping.
Straight to shipping. Here's the thing with Flacco. From a clean pocket, this is game 1. Clean pocket last week against the Ravens. 80% completion, 7 yards per attempt, 92 rate. Under pressure, 26% completions, 2.3 yards per attempt, 39.6. All right. Let's take it a step further. What does that tell you? Oh, by the way, he only threw the ball more than 20 yards in the air once on 59. And when he misses, folks, he misses high. Opportunities for interceptions. The Ravens did get one of those on a high throw down the middle. Marcus Williams getting the pick. Play action, though. He was 8 of 9 for 97 yards and 112 rating, 10.8 yards per attempt. No play action, 58%, 4.2 yards per attempt, 66 rating. So what does this mean? Beware. Be cognizant of play action on the early downs. But if we can get them into obvious passing situations, we should be able to generate pressure, and we should render him largely ineffective. He cannot move, although he moved a little bit better at times than I maybe would have thought, but he does not move well. I can promise you that. And then for us, look, Miles was the most dominant, number 1 guy at Pro Football Focus Week 1.
Yep.
6 pressures, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, forced fumble, passes defense, 4 tackles, 2 sacks to get the record, which I'm sure he'd love to do at home here. Clowney, I thought, was great. He had 2 pass breakups. By the way, he only had 2 in all of 21. Taven Bryan was around the quarterback. Elliott was around the quarterback. Togi, I got a half of a sack. Defense was good. Anthony Walker, I thought, stood out at the linebacker position. JOK was great, as always. And then just clean up the back end. Other than those 2 busts, we were great on the back end. I mean, really, really, really good. And it was interesting. We had a 3-corner rotation. Newsome played 48 snaps, Denzel 45, MJ Emerson 42. And the coaches were very happy with the rookie in his debut there.
I thought it was great. Is this, all things considered, the injuries at tackle, Flacco at quarterback, is this the worst offense we'll play all year?
I think it's hard to say that. I really do, and the reason
they have some weapons for sure,
the skill talent's
but
good.
their tackle situation is
Atlanta's
pretty brutal
worse.
with our strength.
Atlanta's worse.
Pitts, yeah.
Pitts and Drake London against Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson, Corey Davis, Tyler Conklin, Uzoma, Carter, Brees Hall. They're
Mariota seems a little more of an issue than Flacco. Not much.
Perhaps, but he's not.
Probably
the
is
thing
Atlanta.
with
It's
Flacco.
probably Atlanta. It's on a short. These are the two worst, though. 2 of the next 3 weeks are the two.
You throw Zach Wilson in there, and he's good.
Well, if he's good,
this team
is
could
what
be
we were
pretty
talking
good.
about. This
Yeah.
is why they're one of those teams, potentially like Miami, like Denver was before Russ, where if the difference is they've kept trying to draft the quarterback high, and they feel like they had something with Wilson. It seemed like they liked him a lot in camp before the injury happened. So I don't know. If he's a dude,
New England is a worse offense than this.
Boy, they are, aren't they? That's right. They're coming.
They're dreadful. Do you look at our schedule?
They're favored at Pittsburgh. I don't see how. Which almost makes you think.
I mean,
do the opposite.
You'll have to go with them then, because it makes no sense.
Because it makes no sense.
I mean, they were as dreadful as a team could be in week 1. So that is a wild one. So all right, Steelers with Trubisky, but they're similar skill.
Yeah, but they got 3
quarterback
really
collection,
good receivers.
Bad line.
Bad line. But if Najee is okay, then they get their better running back.
Sure.
And their receivers are a wash,
On
or
par.
maybe better.
Sure.
Yeah.
Chargers are obviously good. Ravens, different kind of offense, but Mark
Just
Andrews,
depends on
Bateman.
when we see it. Yeah,
Sure.
I actually think their offense, when they get the 2 backs back, I think it's going to be pretty frightening on
Texans.
a week-to-week basis.
Texans.
Yeah, Texans would be.
And then that's it. Those are the bottom. So Texans, these guys,
Atlanta,
and the Patriots are our 4 worst offenses.
It's possible. I mean, this could go long for New England this year.
I don't see how it couldn't.
I don't either.
They're bad.
Yes, they are. There's not a single person that scares you. Either side of the ball. All right, we'll do a little fantasy stardom or sit-em. That is coming up next, plus another season-ending injury in the National Football League. We get to that as well. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Yeah, there's a new way to cheer on your Cleveland Browns with the help of your favorite four-legged companion. Barking Backers, presented by Milk Boat, is the Browns' newest club for pet parents worldwide. Sign up today at barkingbackers.com. Barking Backers, the fan club for dogs. Just saw this in the last couple of minutes. Jamal Adams out for the season, the safety at Seattle. He is done for the year. The Jets benefited tremendously from that deal with first-round picks. He was one of those guys who was a meteor right out of the gates
unreal
there, and then really quickly was sorted out and has been marginalized and now done for the year, which sucks for him. Was that 3 1s?
It was a big deal.
It was a bounty.
And it turned out, and then he had, it was great blitzing and all of this with Seattle, but it never was the player that they needed him to be, certainly for that bounty. And yeah, I believe it was enormous.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so it was a pair of 2 1s and a 3.
And we got Amari Cooper for a 5th rounder.
Yeah.
No big deal.
That's pretty good. All right, fantasy football week 2. Let me go big picture with you before we give me some stardom sit-ems. And we got Bob Wischusen here going to join us here in about 10 minutes or so. Where are you on week 1 panic? The Cam Akers situation, those type of situations around the league.
Yeah, Cam Akers is certainly a scary one because you don't know, what to do. Now, the good news is you're not going to play him this week. If you miss out on it, okay, it makes you feel better going forward. But that is certainly not anything that you're going to.
Is that the biggest one where there was a projection of what a player would be and then wasn't? I'm trying to think.
I mean, in terms of just like from their role, Allen Robinson would be in that boat in terms of just his production in week 1. Devonta Smith didn't even catch a pass in week 1. I think Travis Etienne and James Robinson is not something people were prepared for. Cordero Patterson would be on the positive side, that he was way more than people thought he was going to do. And then that annoying nonsense that's happening in Denver. It's just outrageous. It's gross. Nobody likes it. Stop it.
If a guy gets you 10 yards every time he has the ball,
give it
to him more.
Give it to him.
Like, you can't see the difference. I don't know what to do. Like, I'm sure Melvin Gordon's a nice dude, but enough. It's enough.
It's crazy, enough. Man.
Yeah, it's – and you can – Ben Albright can talk about, they trust him and all this. 10 yards a touch. That's the guy who needs it. He's just better.
He's better. Yes.
All right. Who do you like this week from a matchup? Who don't you like?
All right, we'll start off with some people at the quarterback position and at number 1 this week. Some guys to start. And I'm going to try to give you, not necessarily the most obvious guys. I think that's a little bit easier way to go. I'm always going to start Kirk Cousins. I thought the Vikings looked great in week 1. Look for Derek Carr to bounce back against Arizona. That's a dreadful team, and obviously they gave up the most fantasy points to quarterbacks in week number 1. And then if you need to, I still think Trey Lance is going to bounce back, and you can roll with him. Carson Wentz against Detroit I like, as do I like Matt Ryan against the Jags. So there's a couple quarterbacks that I definitely think you can go with this week. Running backs to start. Antonio Gibson's the guy.
Mm-hmm.
They get Detroit. Brian Robinson's great that he's back at practice, and that'll be interesting as the season goes on. But while you've got Gibson, go for it right now. I think he is a must-start. In this one, I like both of our running backs. I've said that. Obviously, you like Nick Chubb, but I think Kareem Hunt. By the way, the Browns, we mentioned that stat yesterday, which I think is just a super fun one. The Browns are 16. What did I have it here? Let's pull it up. 16-5 with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in the lineup, both getting 5 or more carries. Seems like a lock. And so I think you can continue to go with those guys. If you're looking for a kind of a pick up and play, Jeff Wilson, if your waivers haven't run yet, he's going to start against Seattle. Somebody certainly interesting. Nyheim Hines against Jacksonville in a PPR. I like him as well. Wide receivers this week, my man Gabe Davis. You got to keep rolling with him. Mike Williams, and then I'd even throw in Josh Palmer as a flyer for the Chargers with Keenan Allen out tonight. Are some more wide receivers to give a look to. And then tight ends, Zach Ertz, Freiermuth, Dallas Goedert. Those guys I think will continue to stay very, very hot, and you can roll with them.
There you go.
And there it is.
Good job out of you, my friend.
Thank you.
All right, coming up next, the voice of the Jets, Bob Wischusen, joining us. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
Sponsored by Lowe's.
And Browns fans should be sure to stop by the free Twisted Tea Tailgate pregame party prior to every home game. Twisted Tea Tailgate, located on the west side of First Energy Stadium, combines the atmosphere of a beer garden with a live music, food, and drink options. The tailgate opens for kickoff. Prior to kickoff is open to fans with a ticket to the game as well. And now we head behind enemy lines on the Twisted Tea hotline with the voice of the Jets, our good buddy Bob Wischusen joining us. Bob, thanks so much for the time. Boy, this one would have a different feel for it with Zach Wilson coming in. I guess let's start there. We know he's not going to play, but what does he look like? How is he progressing? It's kind of the face of the franchise if everything goes right.
He's looked pretty good, to be honest with you. Probably surprisingly good. You guys tell me if this connection's any good, by the way. You're a little choppy on my end. You able to hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good.
You sound fine.
You're fine.
Okay, good. All right, great. When he originally went down, and I'm calling that pre-game, there was and I know fans in Cleveland can appreciate this in a way that probably no other fan base other than the Jets can. Like, oh, my God, we're cursed. I cannot believe the quarterback is done for the year. Like, it looked like an ACL in a preseason game. And so it was an unbelievable, blessing of good news for him and for the Jets that it became just a slight meniscus tear and, an operation that was up. And they said 2 to 4 weeks. It's been about 4 weeks. I think they want him to not just be able to function, but to have practiced and to have kind of gotten his football sea legs back under him. So they put him through some 7-on-7 and individual drills at practice yesterday. There was some video of it that was posted. And honestly, if you didn't know that he had been hurt, you would think he was playing this weekend. He looked really good. So I think hopefully sooner rather than later they get him back out there. They said that he was going to sit until at least the Steelers game. That's 2 games away. And based on what I saw from him yesterday, I think he's got a great chance to play 2 games from him.
Bob, let's talk about the quarterback position and talk about Joe Flacco. Week 1, he was under quite a bit of duress. And so, 1, what did you think of him? And then 2, any updates at all on George Fant, who did not practice yesterday, knowing already that line is decimated at the tackle position?
Yeah, my instinct is, from what I've been able to garner, that even though he didn't practice yesterday, I think Fant will be ready to go on Sunday. I think he'll play. Will he be a little limited? We'll see. When you've got a Myles Garrett to your left and a Jadeveon Clowney to your right, like that doesn't feel great, I'm sure, for Joe Flacco. But the real pass rush that last week I thought was the difference maker for Baltimore was the pass rush up the middle.
Yeah.
And that's really where the Jets need to be better. Like, their center, Connor McGovern, their guards, Laken Tomlinson, Elijah Vera-Tucker, they were in Joe Flacco's lap too often. And the difference between obviously having Joe Flacco and Zach Wilson when that pass rush comes is Zach can spin out and run somewhere and maybe buy some time, extend the play, help himself with his legs. And obviously Joe Flacco at this point in his career can't do that. He's 37 years old. He was never really a running quarterback to begin with.
No.
He'll run and do the best he can to get out of trouble. But, he's much more of like the prototypical stand-in-the-pocket statue quarterback. And if you're a pass rusher, then you can beat the guy in front of you, and you always know basically where the quarterback's going to be. Well, that's a good thing for a pass rusher. So their pass protection this week has to be much better. And then Joe has to do his part, and the ball just has to come out quicker. Like, he has to find his check down faster. If it's, if there's a blitz coming and he's got a guy that's hot, like, he has to know who that guy is, the ball has to come out faster. And it seemed like last week he was just a little more tentative than you'd expect for a 37-year-old quarterback that's been through this. Just didn't pull the trigger sometimes fast enough, and that also hurts your pass protection.
Yeah, it certainly does. It was interesting, the game last week against Baltimore, where it's a 10-3 game at half, and yet Baltimore throws it all over the place in the second half of the game, and so do you. Flacco with damn near 60 attempts in this game to just 17 rushes in the game against Baltimore. Some of that's obviously because they had to chase after the third quarter. But what do they want to be offensively with Joe Flacco? Because that's who we're going to deal with on Sunday as opposed to with Zach Wilson down the line. What's the perfect script for them?
Yeah, I mean, they came out at the start of the game with 3 tight ends. I think they wanted to establish the run. So like ideally, you've got Michael Carter and Breece Hall. They drafted in the 2nd round. You've got these 2 young running backs. You brought in, you've got a first-round draft choice at guard 2 years ago, a Pro Bowler at guard that you brought in as a free agent. So, you'd like to be able to run behind the interior of your offensive line and then let Joe Flacco go play action. And they came out with 3 tight ends in the first couple of possessions trying to establish that. Didn't work. No, not nearly as consistently as they needed it to. So this week, I would think they would probably come out more in what we prototypically now see in the NFL, which I think if they have 2 tight ends on the field, it'll be more of trying to get a matchup for the pass game. I think you'll see more of Garrett Wilson this week. Obviously, fans in your neck of the woods, might have been surprised that you'd go out and take a great Ohio State receiver 10th, and then he barely played in the first half. Well, they were trying to establish this 3 tight end look. He played a ton in the second half. I would think he would probably be out there early and often as well this week. So, I expect a little bit of a different game plan. But, the Jets this past week threw the ball a ton because they had no choice because they were behind. And they were trying to throw themselves back in the game. The Ravens actually threw the ball as much as they did because the one thing the Jets did, and they're going to have to do it again this week, especially with those 2, monsters that the Browns can give the ball to, they stopped the run. They held Lamar Jackson to 2.8 yards per carry. They held Kenyon Drake to 2.8 yards per carry. At times, I think, where the Ravens were throwing 2nd and 3rd down because down and distance demanded that they do that because the Jets did stop the run pretty effectively. I think they held the Ravens to 80 yards rushing in the game. So if there was one thing for the Jets to latch onto going into a game where you've got Chubb and Hunt, who anybody to coach those 2 guys, you'd probably, in an ideal world, like to run the ball 40 times and give it to each of them 20 times apiece. If the Jets can stop the run the way that they stopped the run this past week, that could change the way that this game looks.
Yeah, and last week the Jets, as you mentioned, they did a great job. They were the 3rd ranked run defense coming into this one after struggling to stop the run a year before. And I wanted to ask you about that because when I watched that game, they were clearly not afraid to load the box with 8 or 9 guys. They were in their base defense 66% of the time, which was the 2nd most of any team in the NFL in week 1. Do you think that was more Baltimore-specific because of the threat of Lamar, or do you think that's kind of maybe a trend for this D against a team that's very good at running like the Browns will be?
Yeah, it's probably both. I think that there definitely is, the opposition's personnel dictates who you have on the field, right? So they played a lot of 3 linebacker, which is almost a rarity now in the NFL.
Yeah,
It almost
absolutely.
seems like NFL-based defense now is nickel,
Right.
and trying to find that big safety that can do both, and pull them down in the box, pull them out of the box. No, they played as close as you're going to get for a decent amount of the time to base defense. Traditional, and that's become untraditional now in the NFL. But I would think you'd probably see a fair amount of that again this week because of what the Browns like to do with the 2 big running backs. So I definitely think they're going to go into this game, and knowing when you're playing your backup quarterback, now Jacoby Brissett has played a lot of football, a lot more football than a lot of teams' backup quarterbacks have, but still a backup quarterback, and you've got those 2 running backs who they're going to want to lean on. So last week, Mark Andrews is probably about as good an NFL tight end as there is. They load up with Patrick Ricard, who's a big bruising fullback who kind of plays H-back, tight end, fullback. Lamar Jackson can run. They always have a running back in the backfield with him. Baltimore has run-based personnel on the field a lot. I would think that was more reactionary to that, but I would think that there's probably going to be a lot of personnel groups on the field for Cleveland, as you would expect, that tell you, hey, we're going to make no bones about the fact that we're going to try to run the ball at you.
All right, initial impressions of kind of this new look secondary. You got 3 new starters in that secondary. It's Sauce Gardner, Jordan Whitehead, and DJ Reed joining LaMarcus Joyner, who joined the Jets a year ago. What did you think of that secondary and kind of how they were able to get after the quarterback with that rotating group up front? Really the first look at Carl Lawson, which was nice to see him get after the quarterback. But what do you make of kind of the back end with this new look as they try to really improve that unit?
Yeah, the 2 corners were good. Gardner and Reed were good. I mean, DJ Reed had an interception late in the game that was kind of inconsequential. The game was basically over when he picked the ball off, but he did pick one off. Neither of those guys gave up a big one. The only corner that gave up a really big play was Bryce Hall, who's been, relegated to second string because they brought in Gardner and brought in Reed. And he actually had really good coverage on a play, and the Ravens just beat him, and Lamar threw a perfect ball. But, yeah, the safeties struggled a little bit in coverage. They gave up a couple of big plays. But all in all, I mean, the Jet defense as a group did all that could be reasonably expected of a defense to keep a team in a game where the offense was doing nothing. And I think there was kind of a collective shoulder slump a couple of times in the game from the defense, because they would get a stop, the towels would be waving, the place was jumping up and down, the defense would be pumping their fists, they'd get a big hit, they'd get a third down stop, they'd go off the field, and the offense would come in and go 3 and out, or, maybe gain 1 first down and have to punt. It wasn't until like the 4th or 5th possession that they even crossed the 50-yard line. And, at halftime, it was a 7-point game. And then, the floodgates opened a little bit in the second half, but at some point, Lamar Jackson is going to hit a play on you. Or like, there's no defense that's going to be able, or very few are going to be able to shut him out. And I think it wears so mentally on a defense, feeling like, man, if these guys score 1 touchdown, it feels like the game's over, because our offense can't move the ball, much less get in position to get in the end zone. So, I do think that the defense this past week, the final score was not really indicative even of how well they played for a long time in that game.
Bob, big picture with the franchise, as Nathan and I today we did offense, defense breakdowns and kind of took a look at everything that the Jets have versus what the Browns have. This roster's really, really good, and it feels like if they hit on Wilson, then away we go. Is the feeling over there that they did hit on Wilson?
We don't know yet.
Still don't know.
Obviously there's a feeling that they hope they do, but last year he looked like a rookie, and he missed a month with an injury. And now in the first game of the preseason this year, first possession he was on the field, he threw a pick, and then he got hurt. So I do think that there's certainly cautious optimism. He was the 2nd pick in the draft.
Sure.
And if you go back and watch a few of the games from last year, like the games they won, late in the season, he got a little more disciplined with the ball. They beat Tennessee during the season last year, and he made some unbelievable plays in that game. So, yeah, there's optimism that he can do this. But as you said, you can run through the roster top to bottom and look at all of the different places that they've improved. And they really looked improved defensively. But unless the quarterback that we hope the quarterback is going to become, it's going to be largely a moot point, because it's all about the quarterback. And everything they did this past offseason was about the quarterback. They brought in basically a revamped offensive line. They Garrett Wilson with the 10th pick in the draft. They brought back Braxton Berrios. They took Breece Hall in the 2nd round. Like they're finding as many ways as they possibly can to protect Wilson and surround him with guys that can play. The one thing I would say, optimistically speaking, is that when he's healthy and he looks like one of those guys. At their absolute top-notch best, Josh Allen might develop into the most complete package of any quarterback in the league. I don't know. There's a lot of really good young quarterback talent in this league, and certainly, Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, very much at the top of that list. And, Herbert, there's great young quarterbacks in this league. But like Mac Jones and Tua Tagovailoa on their best day, like their best dream, not do what Wilson physically can do. Like they'll never be able to run around and throw the ball the way Zach Wilson can do on an individual play, everything that like a Josh Allen or a Patrick Mahomes can do. But to be a good quarterback in the NFL, there's obviously massively more things that go into the equation than just that. And all that other stuff, he still has to learn that and prove that he can do all that other stuff. Diagnosing a defense, knowing when to check it down, making the simple play, making good decisions, getting a team out of the wrong play into the right play, seeing everything that a quarterback needs to see and how they have to see it. And so much of that is between the ears and, just learning how to play the position. It has nothing to do with what you can do physically. So he has all of that to still prove that he can do. But if you just watch him athletically on some of his highlight plays, some of the throws that he makes, I mean, there's like a Miami Dolphin and a New England Patriot fan will never see these plays made for their teams as long as they keep their quarterbacks the way the Jets might be able to see from their quarterback. But there's a lot more that goes into playing winning quarterback in the NFL than
certainly is. Bob, great stuff as always. Good talking to you, my friend. Thanks for your time, and we hope you enjoy the town on Sunday.
All right, guys. Glad to help.
All right, that's Bob Wischusen. He's the voice of the Jets, of course. That's the deal. Like, because of the arms race at the top and the skill and the talent and the youth of the players at the position, if you don't have one of those guys, you don't have a chance.
That's right.
And they're banking that they do, and I think his point, it feels like I'd rather roll the dice right now with him and the potential upside than what is known of the other two.
100%.
Yeah. So much more to come, including a score. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Join Z and Gerard tonight, 7 to 8. Kevin Stefanski Show, West Park Station, Lorraine Road in Cleveland's Camps Quarters area. AWOC is going to be there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Check out
AWOC's great.
Thursday Night Football, brought to you by our friends at Bud Light.
Maybe you can. I'm assuming that they'll have it on their TVs.
Yeah,
but
they found a way around it.
they
We had
around
that
it.
guy.
We got it all
we got it all sorted out.
sorted
There's like
out,
a
yeah,
Spectrum
Yeah,
business situation that sorts
That's
it
right.
out. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
They got it. You're good. You're safe.
You're safe, pal. Safe. All right. Here we go. We got one more score.
Little
to do.
score for Thursday night?
It's time.
Will you guys go separate directions? That's the question. Los Angeles traveling to Kansas City. Chiefs, Chargers, AFC West tilt number 1 in 2022.
Such a great game.
Great game. I'm all in on the Chargers, as you well know.
Yeah.
No Harrison Butker. Could there be a kicking issue?
Could be.
Cost the Chiefs just a few points. I think
All
the
you need
Chiefs
is a
prevail.
couple.
I think they prevail. 31-30.
31 to 30.
To 30 on a
Same.
Thursday night.
Same.
It's a Thursday night.
Pay attention to the scores on a Thursday night,
attention
kids.
to the
Pay
scores.
attention to the scores.
But in this
on a
one, are
Thursday
we
night.
opening it up for everybody, or is it just for the select? Everyone? Select. We'll find out
Those
tomorrow.
are the no-no.
We'll find out tomorrow.
It's going to be a fun game.
That's right.
We have a loaded show tomorrow.
Oh, baby. Talk to
Well,
us.
we have Hoff, right?
No. Well, Hoff's going to call in from golf.
Oh, that's right. He's in golf.
Yeah.
Because it's Legends weekend.
Hoff's got a weekend.
The Hoffness.
Jerry the King Lawler in studio.
Oh, really? The King?
The King.
Will
That's fun.
be joining us live.
That's fun.
Scores, over-unders,
All the fun.
maybe an MJ Emerson sighting.
I'll have to remember to do the
1 minute, 1
over-unders
minute.
before we actually start the show.
Yeah,
I
minor
feel,
detail.
I feel like I do better when there's more prep put into the over.
Yeah, you like, especially if you do the prep on the over-unders, then you really
Then I
like
really
them.
like it.
You like those a
Yeah.
lot.
Speaking of that, don't you have some writing to do while we wait?
He doesn't write anymore.
Don't worry, I'm out.
The next level is coming up next. We are back tomorrow for more fun. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.